Hey guys, LV here. I know it's been a while since I've reviewed anything of Ayu's, so I thought why not just review her latest studio album, A1. I remember ever since I first heard the announcement of this album, I've been anticipating it for like crazy. Each preview that I heard from her official YouTube channel were beyond anything I could ask for. Based off listening to this album, I do know that this is an album that is dominated by ballads, and while that can come off as a bit surprising, I always remember that when it comes to Ayu, there are no such thing as too many ballads. So without further ado, let's get into the review of Hamasaki Ayumi's 16th studio album, A1. I love how it starts off with this more grandiose introduction here, because in a way it's very true to its title. It's filled with nothing but these bell-like instruments. I found that quite soothing to listen to, but it doesn't stay this way for very long. It's soon overcome with this beautiful orchestral feel right here. I just found that very soothing and delicate, and that's something you probably find within a dream. Overall, there isn't anything wrong I can say about this. This to me was a wonderful start for this album, and it's always something I'm always coming back to. Simply put, Warning just kicks everything into gear. The blistering rock that infiltrates the background here is just simply superb to me, and it hasn't even started yet. I found this track a very banging in-your-face type of track, and I found that was really bold in Ayu's case. Plus those mini doses of the synth and electronic influences here, they really set the mood of what to expect. Her vocals on this mix are quite powerful, and in a way that does make it very uplifting. It's one of the greater factors that makes this song quite memorable to me. But despite me talking right here, I feel like the main part of the song that just absolutely just slays me is this chorus right here. I love this chorus. I love how feisty she sounds within this chorus. I always have to release my inner fangirl every time I hear this part, especially when we reach the la 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 part. I just love that part. La 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 la. Obviously, I can't do it as epic as Ayu does, but I just get so ecstatic right here. And I just love how she's dedicating these lyrics to these so-called fans who seem to complain about everything that she does, and I will admit that that always upsets me. It's one of the reasons why I never go on any type of forums or any type of reviews to her. It seems like people they just don't have nothing good to say nowadays, and I understand that everyone has an opinion, and everyone has a right to express that opinion, but there's no need to be nasty about it, because I feel like today people are they're just being nasty for no reason, and they seem to take their anger out on things. Not saying that Ayu's the only one, but because she's a famous figure, they'll take all of their frustrations, all the negative energy out on her, and I find that a bit unfair. Still, despite what anyone else says, I think the power that she displayed within this track was absolutely amazing. It was definitely an interesting contrast when comparing it to the gentleness of the introduction too. I'll admit I wasn't expecting that at all, but I love the surprise that it does designate, and that right there makes this track one of the more unforgettable tracks that I will always listen to. Always. From the layer of instrumental, it seems that this album is diving into a more upbeat sound. And while it doesn't possess the same boldness as the track Warning did, that doesn't mean it didn't solidify its place amongst this album. The layers within the instrumental here are very grand, especially so far in the beginning of the song, which merely makes it a very good plus to hear. Yet for me, what makes this song sound so perfect is that it's fueled by these beats that sound more electronic more than anything else. Yet the vocal uses that I display here as well was one of the more ultimate highlights of this tune. I realize that coming from an Ayu fan can sound a bit biased, but I have to admit I just love the variation that she uses within her voice. I think it sounds really good. It's just hard to describe what I absolutely love about it because she does it over and over again, especially within this part that's building into the chorus. You could just hear that emotion within her voice, and I don't know, I just gush over it over and over again. Especially when she reaches the chorus or the pre-chorus. I just love how she bursts with so much life right here. It's just so unreal to me. But I guess we're not here yet. Let me just stop talking. Let's reach that part right here. I love that part. She just sounds so beautiful right there. I don't know, I can't even form words to it. Overall, I do consider this to be one of the more stronger tracks amongst this album. I just love the touch of nostalgia that's carried around this tune. It reminds me more of her more grander albums, and that's always something I'm looking for in Ayu. There's nothing about this song that's unlikable to me. It's 100% from beginning to end, and that's always something I'm looking for in Ayu. Always. One of the more longer tracks of this album, but surprisingly, I don't really mind that. Right from the get-go, the arrangement that's emphasized realize here it starts to develop into this grander, more orchestral sound. IU's vocals, for the most part, sounds very pretty and blends right well with the serene ambient of this song. Yet for me, one of the main things that builds this song is that the song showcases a more subtle view of patience. I realize that that doesn't make sense, but what I'm trying to say is that the song takes its time to build. It's like you don't know where it's going to go. You can hear it from the way it's flowing. It's just building piece by piece, and you don't know where those pieces are going to go. But eventually, as you guys can hear right here, it starts to weave into this powerful ballad. At least that's how I've interpreted it. While the beginning here is quite interesting, the song doesn't reach its main highlight until we reach the chorus. And this chorus right here, guys, while her vocals aren't necessarily strong, they do possess a particular sweetness to them that really lifts my spirit. Overall, to me, this was a very nice ballad that did leave its mark amongst this album. It progressed very smoothly, and I can always rely on that if I want to dive into a more positive outlook of this album. So, overall, A+. I'll admit, I did think that there will be a couple ballads after Anything For You, but the introduction of this track changed my perspective entirely. Even though it does start off with this fragile-like appeal, it is truly well placed and definitely sets the mood of what's about to come. I'm always captivated by the rawness of it, especially when it explodes into this later verse, and that's always so cool to me. I think IU projected her emotions very well within these verses, and I love how they bring their own particular sound to them. Yet despite all that, this will always be the part that'll take my breath away. I just love how it explodes right here because you know it's going to be something serious, and that right there is what definitely highlights the song to its utter greatness. Of course, like I said before, this part does highlight a more broader, distinctive sound to it, yet I can't ever find myself ever disliking that. I remember I praised the song for the quality it conceived, and I'm happy to say that I can still stand by that opinion. Although this may not be one of her most cheerful songs, it does give the album a more realistic touch, and that's definitely something I'm always looking for. So overall, this was a great turnaround in terms of emotion. Interesting to see how this came after last minute. I'll try not to focus on that too much. I remember in the previous review I said about this song, I stated how this was a ballad that seemed to be diving into a more nostalgic feel, and I still stand by that opinion, don't get me wrong. However, based off the content of this album, it seems that this song brings out a lot more within its description. It can be a bit ominous at times. It's almost like you can feel the winter around you. I guess that description is a bit lame. It's one of the more descriptions about the song that I find the most fascinating. Her vocal performance is quite nice here, and I do like the overall fragileness of it, even though I will admit that sometimes the way she sings this song can make me a bit sad sometimes, especially when we reach this chorus right here. It's like you can hear that sadness, and sometimes it can bring me down because I feel what she's feeling. While it is necessarily not my most cherished ballad from her, it does have its moments of strength, and for that I am grateful for this song. I wouldn't necessarily call this tune a ballad, but it's definitely a bit more edgier when comparing it to the previous tracks. I will admit for a long time, I really didn't find anything too spectacular about this song, yet as certain parts of my life began to change, it was at that point where I did realize how much strength that this song does carry. No one asked me why, it's just, I don't know, I just found that I really like the verses here. For me, they really contain like this really simple pattern, for the arrangement becomes bigger and bigger as the song progresses. You can literally hear it within her voice. It's like she's trying to tell a story to us, and that's something I've really found quite relieving about this tune. And that part becomes all the more vivid to me, especially when we reach the chorus right here. And while it is true that the chorus isn't necessarily grand, it is strong, I will say that. Obviously, if I had to compare it to her more older songs, this isn't the best song out there. However, the melody of the song does stick with me, and I can remember it long after when the song is over. When I first heard this preview from her official channel, I just knew that this song was going to be a solid. Of course, when now analyzing it from a critical perspective, I know it definitely sounds a lot more weaker than the previous tracks we've heard so far. Yet it does, despite all of that, maintain some character for me. The one thing I really like about this song is how in this song, the power seems to just come from IU's vocals. I realize now that that does sound a bit confusing, but I don't know, you can hear the tenderness, you can hear the power that's coming out of it, and I don't know, I found that quite beautiful. And that really seems to stand out more when we reach into this chorus right here. There's just so much that's going on, so much tenderness, so much love, that it really makes it hard for me to point out one particular thing. All you guys need to know is that it's a gorgeous listen, and I'll never get tired of listening to it. That's the only thing I can say. In some ways, I consider this to be the most emotional track on this album, but that's still an ongoing debate to me. I apologize if that doesn't make any sense. It's hard to describe my actual feelings about this song. I mean, of course I can appreciate the beauty that this melody consists of. Believe me, there's no argument there. It's just, I don't necessarily play this song often, and I really have no really good reason why I can say that right there. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this track. It's just, I don't really find myself playing it often. Yet despite those thoughts, I still consider this a ballad that's well above average. It features a lot of this incredible instrumentation that works well alongside the theme of this album, and that's always something for me to smile to. But despite my conflicting thoughts, don't misunderstand me, I do love this song, especially the video for this song. I found the video of this song quite beautiful, and that's something I can always come back to even though I don't really listen to the song as much. This was another song that got me really enthusiastic the first time I ever heard it on her official channel. Right away, you hear these deliciously altered electronic beats that immediately set the party vibe for this song. But despite all of this is not even the best part. I would say the best part is when her vocals start to reach in here. Her vocals for this track are especially fun, since they seem to be inputting a lot of sass within the verses right here. But yet again, this isn't the best part. I would have to say the best part would have to be when she says over and over again, yeah, I love that part. I don't know, it just sounds so fun. And I will admit it does sound a bit silly, but I do love the overall shameless feel of it. Overall, this was a tune that incorporates a tremendous amount of good energy that I sometimes even barely realize that it's 6 minutes long because it goes over so fast for me. And I found that to be a really good effect of this song because it always seems like a few minutes for me based off the futuristic tone that it incorporates. It's weird going back to something so familiar after all the new songs, but I guess in this case it was needed. As I said in the previous review I stated on this, the song distinguishes itself with this more orchestral approach, such as right here. La, 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 la. Over and over throughout the verses, it has this sense of tenderness based off the emotional value within the lyrics. And that's definitely a highlight that doesn't get old to me. Another thing I found really unforgettable about this track is the lyrical content. I love how the album starts off with the track Warning, which is all about Ayu doing whatever the hell she wants, and it ends with this track Walk, where she states that she's proud of the choices she's made. And for me, that definitely closes off the album with a good note. Alongside these beautiful backdrops of the weeping instrumentals here, that was a really good way to end things. I'm really proud that Ayu did that because it's something you won't forget anytime soon. The next song is a bonus track and is Utada Hikaru's song, Moving On Without You, which I do consider one of my favorite songs off her first Love album. You guys notice there's no music in the background? I will explain the reasoning for that shortly. Because this is a Hamasaki Ayumi review, I want this review all to be all about Ayu. I do realize that that is a bit childish, but I want to convey all my thoughts when I review Utada Hikaru's cover album. So the opinions I do have on Hamasaki Ayumi's cover, don't worry, I do have an opinion on that, and I did write my thoughts down about that. But right now, I'm not going to say them here. I want to reveal them on Utada Hikaru's cover album. Don't worry, you guys, it's not that I'm ignoring the song. Believe me, I'm not. I just want to review it on a separate video, which is going to be of Utada Hikaru's cover album. That review should be coming up soon. Overall, I thought the music that was displayed on this album was truly well crafted. This time around, I noticed that this album wasn't really cohesive as much as her other albums, but despite all of that, the tracks here definitely highlighted the utter best within her music. At least I thought so. Of course, like most of her current albums, not every track on this album was 100%, yet in my honest opinion, there really wasn't a bad song amongst this album, so that was a checkpoint there. For this copy, I just got the CD only edition. There's no really good reason why I got the CD edition only. I guess because sometimes I use albums, sometimes I want the CD DVD editions, other times I want the CD edition, so there's really no good reason why. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't get the CD DVD edition because I did like the videos for this album, but if I had to be honest, I did like this cover a bit more than the CD DVD version, so I guess it worked out in the end, but one of these days I'll probably end up buying the CD DVD edition, but for right now, I'm content with the one I have. So here's the inside of the album. Very simple, nothing really too extravagant, but in its own way it is beautiful. I really like that right there. It's the same as the back for this, which is, I thought it was really nice. Here's the obi. I don't know what purpose this serves, but I always like to show it. And now we're moving on to the album work. Rather upside down picture of her. I can probably do this and maybe you guys can see it a little better. This was one of my more favorite photo shoots of this album. I really like that one. I like that photo too. Very nice picture to end the album with. And that's it. Overall, this was a really fantastic album. Like I said before, it wasn't as cohesive as her previous works were, but I'm not gonna complain because for this album, I did consider it to be an outstanding piece of pop music. I can't even begin to express how much I appreciate this album because this album did a lot for me this year. I know that mindset is rather confusing, but in terms of what has happened to me in my life, I feel like this album has been there for me, which is one of the reasons why I can really love it. As always, you guys, thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope all the IU fans out there enjoy what I had to say on this album because this was a really good album to me, and while it wasn't as jaw-dropping as maybe as her previous works were, it did definitely left its mark. And as I always say in my videos, if anyone has anything they would like me to review, just leave it in the comments below and I'll be sure to get to it eventually. So until next time, you guys, bye.